Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with C-notes. And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey Merlino.
What's up, Big?
Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with
Tell us about ourselves.
And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey
Skinny
Merlino.
with Joey Merlino.
Welcome back to episode 61, The Skinny, with Joey Merlino and Lil Snuff. Today we have a legendary guest on the podcast, Mr. Roger Stone. How you doing?
Excellent. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, my brother.
So I wanted to get into some topics because the election is right around the corner. And before we get into that, I think we should start when you were growing up. Mm-hmm. Where did you grow up at, for people who don't know, and how did you get involved in the politics?
All right. It's an excellent question. First of all, people need to understand that Stone is a name plucked out of thin air by a clerk at Ellis Island who was probably some Irish prick. So my real family name is Corbo.
Okay.
My people are from Sicily. We're from the town of Corvo. It kind of gets bastardized, but I'm half Italian, half Hungarian. Specifically, I'm Italian from the waist down.
Right.
And I grew up in a blue-collar household. My parents weren't political. My father was the hardest working man I ever knew. He was a well digger. I mean, he and my uncle and my grandfather ran a chop drill, drilling artesian wells in the greater New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area. Yeah. My dad would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My mother would make him breakfast. He would go to work. He would come home at 5, completely caked in mud, just completely covered in mud. She would hose him down in the backyard. She would feed him dinner, and he would go to bed. And he'd wake up the next day and do the same thing. He did it 6 days a week, and I never, ever heard him complain.
Yeah.
Sundays we went to church. My mother was a great cook. But I lived in a rural area in Connecticut where there were no kids, my age for, 25 miles away. So that means there are no team sports. You can't play football, you can't play baseball, you can't play basketball. I never did develop any eye-hand coordination, so you have to amuse yourself.
Yeah.
So I started long-distance running, I started lifting weights, and I started reading. I just started voraciously reading everything I could lay my hands on. I liked history, I liked biography, I liked, I wasn't too big on fiction. I didn't read a lot of fiction. And then the woman who lived next door to us, who was very active in the Republican Party, gave me a book called The Conscience of a Conservative by Barry Goldwater. It was a paperback, and I read this book, and it transformed my life, because he was for individual personal freedom. He wanted government out of your life, out of your bedroom, out of the boardroom, out of your business. He wanted a strong national defense, but he wanted it as a deterrent. In other words, you don't go around the world looking for wars to get into. You're so strong that nobody screws with you.
Yeah.
Right. Peace through strength. The Eisenhower philosophy, the Goldwater philosophy, the Reagan philosophy, the Trump philosophy. So I knew immediately that this is what I wanted to do. Before that, I wanted to be an actor. Of course, my parents were like, well, no, you need to be a plumber or an electrician or a sheet wall guy or those guys make great money. But then I found out that politics was show business for ugly people. And that's how I got started.
That's how you got started, just
that?
like that. Maybe I should have did that.
You should
live far away so I could read a little more.
You can't read.
It's a little hard.
Yeah, you can't read.
When you're younger and you started reading that book, and now you feel like that you're involved in politics, grade school, high school, you started reading more, and I'm sure you started getting more involved in the community when it comes to the Republican Party, like you said.
Right. So as soon as I decide this is what I want to do, I volunteer for the local Republican Party. I ride my bicycle to the headquarters every day after school. I have a Goldwater sticker on my bicycle. I'm wearing a button to work. I wore the button 3 weeks after the election was over. I refused to concede. And it was in that period after Goldwater lost that I began to read about the 1960 election. This was 1964. I started to read about the 1960 election. And I decided, based on everything I read, that Nixon had actually won, that he'd been robbed.
Okay.
So, and I knew he was practicing law in New York City. He was kind of in exile at that point. So I wrote him a letter, and I said, look, I think you got screwed. I think they stole it from you. I think you should get back in and run again. And I got a really nice letter back, which I still have, in which he said, thank you very much. I think I'm finished. I don't really have any plans, but of course he did. And if I do decide to run again, I'll be in touch.
Wow.
And then 2 years later, these are the days when the phone was on the wall in your house, right?
Yeah.
My mother comes in and says, there's a man on the phone for you, John Whitaker, says he works for former Vice President Nixon, and he'd like to talk to you. You want to talk to him? I said, sure. So I talked to him, and he said, we have your letter on file. That shows you how organized they were.
Yeah.
And you're still interested in, we're getting the campaign together. The former vice president's launching a comeback campaign. You still interested? And I said, sure. And they said, well, can you come in to New York City, which is where they were operating out of, for an interview? And I said, yes. So I took the train in. And then when I showed up, they figured out I was 16 years old. I mean, they thought I was, an adult. So they didn't quite know what to do. And I said, look, I want a job. I'll do anything. I'll run for coffee. I'll go out and get sandwiches. I'll run packages across town. I just want a job. And they ultimately hired me. My first thing was going to the Republican National Convention in Miami Beach, and I was a gopher.
Yeah.
And I was specifically assigned to John Mitchell, who was Nixon's campaign manager, his law partner, who later unjustly went to jail in Watergate, even though he did not approve the break-in and he knew nothing about it. In fact, I think he killed it 3 times. But it was really great because I got to sit outside the office door, and I saw, Barry Goldwater come and go, Ronald Reagan, Billy Graham, Everett Dirksen, Nelson Rockefeller, all the
big names.
all the big names of the day. This is before we had cell phones, so I would get autographs of each one, have each one sign an autograph. I still have all that stuff.
That's nice.
And that's how I got started.
That's crazy. And you're
Poor
talking
Nixon, what they did to him.
at a
Well,
young,
and we now know so much more than we knew then.
Right,
So just within the last year, a number of CIA documents have been declassified that tell us that the Central Intelligence Agency knew about the break-in well in advance. They infiltrated the break-in team with 4 active CIA operatives who were reporting back. The whole thing's a setup.
Jesus.
I mean, the whole thing is a setup. G. Gordon Liddy, who I knew when he ran for Congress in a mid-Hudson Valley district not far from where I lived in Connecticut, had briefly been an FBI agent, but basically E. Howard Hunt, who's in the CIA, and James McCord, they're playing the guy the whole time, the entire time. They're playing him. So Gordon has a good heart. I mean, he's a patriot, but he has no idea that he's being played.
Yeah.
He's totally being played by the CIA.
That's crazy. And this has been going on since the beginning of time, stuff like this happening.
Well, he saw the election, he got robbed in the 60s.
In the 60s.
Yeah, well, and of course, a lot easier to rob 60s. I mean, look, John Kennedy's downfall was selecting Lyndon Johnson as his vice presidential running mate. This kind of goes back. So Johnson had somebody break into Kennedy's doctor's office in New York City and steal his medical records, where they found out he had Addison's disease. Now, Johnson and Kennedy are fighting it out for the 1960 Democrat nomination, and John Connally, then a Democrat, then governor of Texas, and the Democrat National Committee woman from Texas have a press conference in Los Angeles at the headquarters, and they announce that Kennedy has Addison's disease, and he won't live through a term as president.
That's crazy.
Kennedy puts out a letter from his doctor denying it. The letter's a lie. We know from the autopsy that he does, in fact, have Addison's disease. So they hated each other. There was a deep hatred there, particularly Robert Kennedy, who knew that it was Johnson who broke into Kennedy's doctor's office. Robert Dallek, who's a historian, he blames it on Nixon, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
If it was Nixon, how come Connolly's guys announce it at the convention, right? So that causes a deep animus between Bobby Kennedy, who's a tough, ruthless little son of a bitch, and a good man, a hard-line anti-communist, and a good man in many ways. And Kennedy has selected Stuart Symington, who's kind of a colorless moderate, to be his running mate. And Symington's in his hotel room writing his acceptance speech, and then LBJ and the Speaker of the House, Carl Rayburn, go to Kennedy's hotel suite, and they have with them 8x10 pictures of Kennedy in bed with this East German whore named Inga, who, interestingly enough, also banged Gerald Ford. So she had bagged two presidents.
God bless her.
So anyway, Johnson essentially says, look, you need me, you need Texas, and if you don't take me for the ticket, these pictures will go over the Nixon campaign. That's how he forced his way in. And then the very next day, Johnson is asked, why would you give up all the power of being the majority leader of the U.S. Senate for the powerless job of vice president? And Johnson says, well, if you look at how many vice presidents have become president upon the death of the president, let's just say I'm a betting man and I like the odds.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that really is. And I know you have a legendary tattoo that I hear about.
I do. I have a tattoo of Richard Nixon on my back. It's about the size of a grapefruit.
That's
It's
amazing.
right between my shoulder blades. It's not really, though. It's not really a political statement. It's more a daily reminder that in life, when things don't go your way, when you get knocked down, you suffer some defeats, you have some setbacks, you're discouraged, you almost want to quit. That's the time you got to get back in the game.
Back in the game,
So
absolutely.
for me, it symbolizes persistence. It symbolizes resilience. It symbolizes the fact you can never quit. So it's kind of an American story.
Right.
It's that kind of resilience. So also means I'm the only guy you know with a dick on the front and the back.
Yeah. When we talk about presidents being polarized and everything that's going on now with the election, and your relationship with Donald Trump started how long ago, would you say?
I met him in, let's see, it would have been 1979. I was assigned, I went to work for Governor Ronald Reagan. So Reagan and Nixon were both from Southern California.
Right.
And therefore they had a lot of common big donors. They had a lot of common staff members. So because I had, after working for Nixon in the 68 campaign as a gopher, I came back and worked for him in the 1972 campaign as a scheduler for the First Family. I was at George Washington University, but when I was offered the job, I had two choices. Do you want to sit in a classroom and study politics, or do you want to actually be in it?
Live it.
Be in
Yeah, live it.
So I chose to join the campaign. And then because of my relationships that I made working for Nixon, I was able to get a job with Reagan for his 76 campaign, which we came very close to beating Ford. It was a great campaign. It was a much smaller group of people, but Reagan was a great candidate, and Ford was essentially a dud. We thought that he would lose to Carter, and he did. I think Reagan could have beaten Carter. But anyway, so then I came back in 1980 with a bigger job, and I was in charge of the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area where I had grown up. Mike Deaver, who was kind of Reagan's body man, gave me this card file, like a recipe box card file of the friends of Ronald and Nancy Reagan in New York, who might be helpful for money or the campaign, so on. Now, I went through the cards. I would say 7 out of 10 of them were dead. They were theatrical,
Right.
they were old show business contacts. But I found a card for Roy M. Cohn, Esquire,
The lawyer.
the fixer,
Yeah.
and a very tough guy. And of course, I knew who he was. He was the counsel to the Army McCarthy hearings. He was a big power in the Democrat Party in New York City. He had made Abe Beame mayor. He controlled several of the county chairmen. He was a powerful guy. And I kept calling his office and leaving messages, and nobody called me back. I kept saying, I work for Ronald Reagan. I really like an appointment. Nobody calls me
Nothing.
back. So then I was invited to a dinner party from a woman who was on our finance committee, who was quite wealthy. Roy had handled her divorce. And she said, oh, I'm having this dinner party, and Roy Cohn's going to be there. So I'm thinking, wow, this is a twofer. I get a free meal.
Yeah.
And you finally get to sit in front of him.
And I finally get 5 minutes with him. So I go to the dinner, and Cohn is there. And I introduce myself. And he says, are you the son or the grandson of the guy who keeps leaving messages at my office? That's how we started.
Yeah.
I said, no, that's me. He says, well, you're kind of young. I said, how old were you when you worked for McCarthy? He said, good point.
Yeah.
All right, kid, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Perfect.
Come by my office 11 o'clock. So I said, great. So I go to his office, and I'm there on time, and they say, have a seat in the waiting room. Mr. Cohn will be with you. And I wait, and I wait. It's 12 o'clock. It's 12:30. It's 1 o'clock. I'm still waiting. Finally, a woman says, okay, Mr. Cohn, we'll see you now. Please go to the top of the stairs and take a left to go into the main dining room. So I go up to the top of the stairs. I come in, and Roy is sitting there with a very large man. And he says, Mr. Stone, I want you to meet Tony Salerno. And I shake hands with that Tony Salerno. And Salerno says, so Roy says we're going with Reagan this time. I said, well, I work for Governor Reagan. Yes, I hope to get Mr. Cohn's help. And he says, you know, I don't like politics. Last time we were in politics, we helped that rat bastard Jack Kennedy. You know what the fuck happened to him? He got what he had coming to him. And he and Roy laugh. This is very disconcerting. And then Roy just dismisses him. He's like, okay, Tony, we got business here. Have a good day. Tony leaves. And Cohn says, what do you know, how can I help you? I mean, I know Ronnie and Nancy from the days when Ronnie was fighting the communists in Hollywood. I'd love to see him become president. This Jimmy Carter's full of shit. You know, we got to save the country. How can I help you? I said, well, I need everything. You know, I need office space. I need telephones. Telephone companies telling me that they need 4 months before they can put in my phones. I need some labor introductions to some of the construction unions, the building trades, some of the more conservative unions. I need a finance committee. I mean, I need everything.
There's a lot that goes into this.
Well, and plus in New York State, where the party structure is very establishment, and you know, everybody is for George Bush. Those who aren't for George Bush are for John Connolly. And Roy kind of stares out the window for a second. He says, you know what you need Donald Trump. You know Donald Trump? I said, no, I only know who he is.
Yeah.
He said, he's perfect for this. He doesn't like Carter. You probably ought to get Fred first, his father. Fred's a real conservative. You'll like Fred. He said, but he would be perfect for this. He could help you. So he says, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get you an appointment with Fred Trump. You go out to Queens and you see Fred. If Fred likes it, then I'll get you an appointment with Donald Trump. So I said, great. Next day, I take the subway out to Queens. I meet Fred Trump, who's a kind of a quiet, tough guy, but a quiet guy. And I lay it out. But I look on the wall, and there's like pictures of Adlai Stevenson and John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson and Robert Wagner, who was then the mayor of New York City. And they're all Democrats. I'm thinking, maybe I'm in the wrong place.
Wrong place. Wrong place.
All Democrats and you.
And I give him my pitch about why Reagan can win. He reaches in his drawer, he pulls out 3 letters. One is a letter from Robert Welch of the John Birch Society, thanking him for $100,000, which in 1979 is
A lot of money.
a huge amount of money. And this letter was from the 60s. He pulls out a letter from Barry Goldwater thanking him for a contribution of $100,000. That's in 1963. He's got a letter from Billy Graham, and he has a letter from a guy named Fred Schwartz, who ran the anti-communist campus crusade.
Okay.
And I said, I'm a little confused, Mr. Trump, because, you know, look at these guys on the wall. He said, look, let me explain it to you, kid. Locally, because I need zoning and I need approvals, locally my politics is Democrat. Nationally, my politics is Republican. I love Ronald Reagan. I'd love to see him in the White House. How can I help you? I said, well, I need $100,000. and I need $100,000 and 1,000 individual $1,000 contributions, and no corporate, because that was the law at the time. And then, frankly, I'd like to get your son to do the same and have you both join our finance committee. And he said, when do you need it? I said, a couple weeks. He said, all right, come back here in 2 weeks. I'll have the money for you. Now, tell my secretary exactly how it has to be done legally, which I did. And then he said, Roy's going to get you in to see my son. I think you guys will hit it off.
Nice.
So the next day I go to see Roy Cohn. I go to see Donald Trump and his assistant, Norma Federer, who later became a great friend of mine, says, Mr. Trump's very busy today. Very busy. He's probably going to give you 15 minutes. So, if I were you, I'd get in, state your business, and get out.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, sure. And I go in and I say, it's a great honor to meet you, Mr. Trump. He says, call me Donald. I said, it's great to meet you, Donald. And he said, so how can I help you? I said, well, I work for Ronald Reagan. We think we can beat Carter. We think he's the strongest candidate. And then for the next 2 hours, he's just hitting me with questions. What about California? What about Ohio? What about the New Hampshire primary? What about the Iowa caucuses? How about debates? Because he's still up to it. He asks, this is a guy who knows a lot more about the subject than you think.
Yeah.
And finally he says to me, all right, I'll join the finance committee. Tell me how much you need. I said, I need 100,000. Go through the rules. He says, all right, come back in a couple of weeks. I'll get it for you. But he says, your man's going to win. I said, why do you say that? He said, I'll tell you why. Because he's got the look. So he says, he's got the look. Now, Trump says to me, I have the look, but I'm not interested in running for president. And I'm thinking to myself, yet.
Yeah.
So we became very good friends. And then as the Reagan campaign progresses, Trump, remember this is before we have cell phones, I would come in every morning to the headquarters, which was on 52nd Street next to the 21 Club, was this old brownstone mansion, which had seen better days. It had basically been boarded up. Mm-hmm. But Roy Cohn knew the owner, and the owner gave it to us at a fair market rent, because under the law you had to pay a fair market rent. And that was our headquarters. And every morning I would come in about 7:30. As soon as I came in, they would say, there's a message, Donald Trump called. So I said, what time did he call? He called at 7. So he was calling every morning, checking on his investment.
Yeah.
Like, how's it going? How we doing?
Always involved.
Always involved. Wanted to know everything. We became very good friends. And then after Reagan was elected, I had never had any interest in working for the government, so I opened my consulting firm, and Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts, and the Trump Organization were my first 2 clients.
That's amazing.
Just doing kind of, not very romantic work, but for example, when he bought the Trump Princess, the yacht from Khashoggi, the yacht was too big to get into the harbor at Atlantic City, so the harbor had to be dredged. But to get a dredging permit usually took a couple years. So I got a dredging permit done in record time from the Army Corps. They dredged the harbor so he could get his yacht in. Or he had a building in Chicago that he was building with partners. And it was, 100 feet, 25 feet, don't recall, but it was higher than the height limit. Mm-hmm. And he needed a waiver from the FAA. They required him to put special lights on it so no airplane hits it. I got him his waiver. Just giving an example of the kind of stuff I was doing. We got to be very good friends. And then
together a long time.
Yeah, 45 years. Yeah. I've known him 45 years. By the way, it hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah.
No. And this bullshit that he's slowing down. No, he's exactly the same. Not exactly the same as he was.
Well, she had balls. Kamala Harris said the other day she wants to see his doctor's reports. Trump's. What about fucking Biden's doctor reports? I said he was fucking brain dead fucking 3 years ago. And she's with him every day.
Every day.
You got balls to ask for Trump's.
And she says the day after that he melts down in the debate. No, she says he's sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
So how long was she lying?
Yeah.
The whole 4 years
the
she's
wife
been lying.
lied, the whole family.
Yeah.
They knew. They lived with him.
We talk about this all the time, and I always ask Joey this about politics. Why do you think that he's so polarized, Donald Trump? that everything he does, they nitpick and they blame him for everything. And
Because he can't be controlled, because he's completely independent.
Yeah.
You can't bully him. You can't boss him. You can't buy him.
He's not a politician.
No, he's not. And he never ran because he wanted a bigger house, because
Right.
he's already got a bigger house.
Yeah.
Right.
He never ran because he wanted a nicer plane. He's already got a nicer plane. So he ran simply because he loves the country.
That's
It's
what
cost
Joey
him
says.
at least $2 billion, at least.
Right.
$2 billion.
At least. And, you know, before he ran, as you know, he was universally loved. I mean, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson.
I watched a video the other day. He went on a View.
Yeah.
Barbara
Yeah,
Walters.
they loved him.
They loved him
Listen, Whoopi, they were hugging him.
Yeah.
The best. We love you.
until he decided to
Until he
get
decided to run
into
for-
politics.
Well, they all said if he wins, they're moving. I'm buying him an airplane ticket.
Yeah, we'll do a GoFundMe
Leave
to
the
get them out
fucking
of country.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a GoFundMe. Always leave. I got a whole list,
Yeah, I know.
motherfuckers.
And what I just don't understand, especially when you look and see what's going on today in the world, and he already has all the money, like you always say. He already has everything. He's doing it for the United States of America, but people can't see that. All they see with him is the bad. And everybody we talk to, everybody we ran into, everybody, they love him, and he's the best guy around.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that the whole Republican-Democrat thing. Look, I have a sentimental attachment to the Republican Party, right? The party of Lincoln, the party of Eisenhower, the party of Reagan, the party of Goldwater, the party of Trump. But in truth, at the top level of the party, it's all one big group. It's the Green Party, and I don't mean the Greens. I mean it's the money party. It's about getting reelected. It's about power, and the two parties are really in it together at the leadership level. And what have they gotten us? These endless foreign wars, where we don't have any interest. I mean, why did we go to war in Iraq? I mean, Dick Cheney lied us into war. He claimed that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. He essentially pressured Colin Powell, who was then the National Security Advisor, into telling the UN that the Iraqis had acquired yellow cake uranium to make nuclear weapons. Then they tried to say that Iraq was involved in the attack on America on 9/11 when they weren't. Tens of thousands of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Iraqis die in this war. What's the war for? Well, Halliburton, that's the company that Dick Cheney's on a leave of absence from, but will return to.
Yeah.
They get all the huge multi-million-dollar contracts coming out of the war, rebuilding,
It's all about money.
logistical support during the war, and then rebuilding after. So it's all about money. And then they say, well, Cheney's holdings were in a blind trust. Well, if he knows it's Halliburton stock and he knows it's in his trust, how fucking blind is the trust? It's not blind. So, and now Kamala Harris is running around touting this guy's endorsement like it's a big plus. The guy's a warmonger. He's a war criminal. And his daughter is going to inherit all that money.
But she didn't even get voted in. She just said,
No.
I'm running.
No, she was never nominated.
Yeah, like how is that
just-
legal?
They just put her in.
Well, first of all, the rules for the nomination of the parties are not set by law. They're set by the party itself. So the party national committee determines the process by which they choose their nominee.
Okay.
And they knew, those who had spent any time with Joe knew that Joe was in no condition to get through a campaign. They knew that he had good days and bad days. My mother, had Alzheimer's. I saw this up close. Some days she was perfectly lucid. The next day she didn't know where she was. And
Yeah.
it was a terrible thing. But so they knew he couldn't get through a campaign. And they forced him out. He didn't want to go. I mean,
Yeah, he didn't
he's-
wanna go.
He's a very, very stubborn guy. He's always had this grandiose view of himself. He thinks he's a Kennedy when, he's basically lied his way through his entire career. I was first in my class at, at the University of Delaware, or whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy's just completely full of shit.
Yeah.
So they forced him out, and I think they gave him a time. So they said, "Look,
Yeah.
Joe, by
Yeah.
you got 2 months, but you got to get out,
Are you going to die of COVID?
Yeah, as soon as he got the COVID.
or whatever." And then I'm pretty sure that as was reported, that they threatened him with the 25th Amendment. So in other words, the way the 25th Amendment works is if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet want you out, you're out. You can appeal it to the Congress, but that's why Obama, who orchestrated all of this, lined up Chuck Schumer, lined up Nancy Pelosi, lined up Hakeem Jeffries. So Joe had no court of appeal. He had to go, and they forced him out.
This is Little Snuff from this Skinny Joey Merlino podcast, and today I'm live at Cartopia 46, right in the middle of North Jersey. If you're looking for a used vehicle, there's nowhere else to look but right here. If you're looking for a Highline vehicle, there's no place other to look than Cartopia 46. From interest rates as low as 5.99%. Yes, I said it, 5.99% to qualified buyers. Here at Cartopia 46, right in the heart of North Jersey, on top of the low interest rates, on top of the bumper-to-bumper warranty. If you come here and mention this Skinny podcast sent you, you're going to get an additional $1,000 more for your trade and an additional savings of $1,000 off any sticker price. And guess what they don't do here at Cartopia 46? They don't sell them for more. They sell them for less. When you're thinking about buying a luxury used car, the first thing that comes to mind, do we have a warranty? Well, here at Cartopia 46, if you get a 2-year warranty, we're going to give you 2 years on top, and that's 2 years, 24,000 miles of bumper-to-bumper warranty. Where else are you going to get that? Only at Cartopia 46. And make sure you mention the Skinny Podcast sent you. At Cartopia 46, we are a KBB buying center. What else could you ask for? Fast money right into your hands. If you're looking for your check same day, look no further. Cartopia 46 is even giving you an extra $1,000 more than KBB. If you can't make it to Cartopia 46, don't forget we have a sister store in North Plainfield, New Jersey, Cartopia 22, and they don't sell them for more. They sell them for less.
He didn't like it. His wife didn't like it. His son and his brother certainly didn't like it. And he's very unhappy. So I think right now he's got mixed emotions. I mean, don't make no mistake about it. He hates Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But he also hates
her.
her.
Yeah, I think he hates her
He hates
too.
her.
Yeah.
And he really hates Obama because he knows that's who's
They
pulling
fucked.
the
They stabbed
strings.
him in the back.
Yep.
Well, Obama goes up and he really basically tells everybody who to vote for.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he runs the whole thing.
But remember, and I think this is key, between the time that Joe drops and the time that they anoint her is like 10 days and he hasn't endorsed her. He is at this point, Nancy Pelosi and Obama are saying we should have an open convention. In other words, we shouldn't wire it for anybody and see who gets nominated. Right. They are trying to lay the groundwork for Michelle Obama. Mm-hmm. I said it repeatedly at the time because more than 50% of the delegates to the convention are people of color, which does not reflect the country. And she's the most popular Democrat in the country, other than her husband. Had she been nominated, they would have had her name be put in nomination. She would have won that nomination.
Yeah, she would have beat her.
She wouldn't even have to run. No. She could have been drafted. So I never said she would run. I did believe that they would draft her because she was the strongest potential candidate to beat Donald Trump. And I think he tried. Yeah. But I don't think she was willing to give up the opulent lifestyle. I love watching their convention and seeing all these billionaires attacking people for wanting to be rich. Like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey got up. You're worth $4 billion. You think she gives a fuck what eggs cost?
No.
It could be 1,000 eggs. She go to buy them.
Yeah.
She don't go a fuck. It don't affect them.
It don't anything really
affects
doesn't
the middle
affect
class.
them.
Affects us, the working people.
And when you got involved with Donald Trump, and because you know him for a long time, legally, we have a video that I want to show that you got indicted. Yeah. And
I was home watching on the news. I thought they locked Bin Laden up again.
Yeah, it was.
Who's this?
Who's this?
It was ugly.
They came with helicopters, boats.
Yeah. Let's show it.
Yeah, let's show that for a second.
Then I'll tell you the story.
CNN was outside the house 2 hours before.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Motherfuckers.
Thank you.
New home security video shows multiple angles of the FBI's pre-dawn raid on the home of political consultant Roger Stone. Unarmed, 66 years old, without a passport, barefoot. Until now, the only public footage of the raid came from CNN, which somehow knew to arrive 1 hour before the FBI got there. Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker was asked about the CNN footage in his testimony before Congress today. Here's part of it.
Are you familiar from public reports or otherwise that a CNN reporter was camped out outside of Stone's house when the FBI arrested him? This wouldn't be part of the investigation.
I am aware of that, and it was deeply concerning to me as to how CNN found out about that. I share your concern with the possibility that a media outlet was tipped off to Mr. Stone's either indictment or arrest before it was made, that information was available to the public.
The media outlet.
The new footage from Stone's home shows CNN arriving about an hour before agents did. The footage depicts what you'd expect if the FBI raided the home of the Mexican drug lord, maybe even SEAL Team 6 going into bin Laden's compound. For context, Roger Stone is a senior citizen accused of false statements to Congress. Take a look at what happened. It's just before 5 a.m. and an SUV with a CNN cameraman arrives first to this quiet street in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Within minutes, the driver gets out and begins to set up his tripod. So far, no sign that anything's about to happen. But the cameraman gets back in his car with his equipment to wait. Almost exactly 1 hour later, trucks with heavily armed men arrive in front of Roger Stone's house. Immediately, CNN's cameraman jumps out of the car, camera on shoulder, capturing the footage. The feds assemble on Stone's driveway. They're wearing ballistic armor and carrying assault weapons with 30-round magazines, red dot sights, and tactical flashlights mounted to their barrel shrouds. One has his gun hanging by a strap while he carries a battering ram in his left hand. All of the men have sidearms holstered on their waists. A second camera mounted on Stone's front door shows another angle of the raid. A heavily armed FBI agent approaches the door with his gun drawn, while others stake out positions behind. It looks like a high-stakes raid, but CNN's cameraman is still 40 feet away, filming it all. One agent swings his firearm around as he scans and surveys Stone's front porch. Behind the home, a third camera captures agents approaching the back of the house from the side yard. Behind the property, a boat arrives with at least 2 agents on board. They shine a floodlight into Stone's home. Back in front, an agent pounds on Stone's door, finger next to the trigger in case something goes wrong. He tries again as he and his colleagues wait in position. Within minutes, Stone exits his home to greet the agents who have their rifles pointed at him. Stone raises his hands and spins around, apparently trying to show that he is unarmed. Another FBI agent approaches Stone from behind and cuffs him. It's just after 6 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark out. 20 minutes later, the same camera shows agents leading Roger Stone back into his house. He is barefoot. Stone is wearing a T-shirt that says, "Roger Stone did nothing wrong."
I love it.
It took
FBI and their water.
It took 29 to come to your house like that.
Yeah, I mean, so look.
And you just opened the door and came out like.
So first of all, I must tell you, I knew they were coming
Okay.
because a woman with CNN asks me by text for my address the night before. Says she wants to mail me something.
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay. I said, well, you can find my address on the internet. She says, well, there's a couple different addresses. I'm not sure which one's current. So I give it to her because she's going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
And I say to my wife, you know, they're coming tomorrow morning to arrest me. She says, for what? I said, who knows, something they made up. She says, you've been saying this, you know, every weekend for the last 3 months, because every week there's another story planted by Mueller and his thugs, you know, noose tightening around Stone's neck, microscope on Stone's, you know, Russian connections, of which I have none. So it's only a matter of time. So I set the alarm for 5 o'clock. I take a shower. I put on my Roger Stone Did Nothing Wrong T-shirt because product placement is everything. I'm sitting in the upstairs window, and I get a call from a Fort Lauderdale police officer who happens to be a friend of mine. He says, hey, are you home? And I said, yeah, why? He said, well, I'm down here at Starbucks, and there's, I don't know, there may be 30 FBI agents online getting coffee, and I get the impression that they're heading to your house right after they leave here. Yeah. And I said, I'm expecting them. So I then see the CNN camera guys pull up, and they set up their camera across the street. I was arrested at 6:06 in the morning, 29 heavily armed FBI agents, all wearing flak jackets, full SWAT gear, brandishing fully automatic M4 assault weapons with 30 rounds, surround my house. They come in two amphibious units. There's a helicopter overhead. They arrive in 17 armored vehicles. I mean, it's
Sanity.
So I was arrested at 6:06. At 6:11, the same person from CNN texts my lawyer and says, "Did you know that your client has just been arrested?" He said, "Arrested for what?" She sends him a copy of my sealed indictment,
Unbelievable.
which
In
has
4
no
minutes.
which has no court markings or stamps on it. But when you look at the metadata tags, it does have the initials of the man who wrote it, Andrew Weissman, the most corrupt federal prosecutor in U.S. history. You know, the guy who covered up for the murders of Sammy the Bull.
Yeah, Sammy
The
the
guy-
Bull, that motherfucker.
The guy who destroyed Enron and Arthur Anderson. He neglects to mention that his convictions were unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court, and the justices slashed him for prosecutorial misconduct.
They always forget to leave that out.
Yeah, and then so clearly, by the way, the leaking of a arrest or search warrant before it's been executed is a felony.
Yeah.
But the judge in my case, of course, could care less. Yeah. So yeah, I knew that they were coming. Then my real concern was my wife, because my wife's very hard of hearing. I mean, she sleeps through all of this. She doesn't hear any of it, so she doesn't know that I've been arrested. I see the FBI pull up. They got their lights on. They rope off the street. I live on a dead end street, so at the end of the street they have roped it off. There's a bunch of media on the other side of the rope. I have an affidavit, sworn affidavit from a Fort Lauderdale policeman who was called in for backup. He goes up to the CNN crew and says, "Hey, you guys got to get behind the rope down the block." And they said, "No, we have special permission to be here." And then an FBI agent comes and chews this cop's ass, says, "You can, no, they're allowed to be here." Yeah. So it's a setup, and I get in. I said, "I'd like to know the charges against me. I'm entitled to know the charges against me." And they said, "Well, we'll tell you that when we get to the booking center in Miramar." So they drive me to the booking center in Miramar. I'm handcuffed behind my back, which is pretty uncomfortable. And I say, "Hey, could we just move the cuffs to the front?" No. I said, "Okay, whatever." So when I finally get there, they pull out this notebook, and I'm looking at it and I say, "Lied to Congress? Where's the Russian collusion? I mean, there's nothing in here that pertains to the Russians." And I said, "Well, I'd like to talk to my lawyers." They said, "Well, your lawyers are on the way." So my lawyers arrive. They put us in this conference room. I look around. I say to my lawyers, "We talk about nothing."
Yeah.
And they say, "Okay, well, you will now be taken down to back to the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale to be arraigned. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea, and then they're going to release you without a bond." So if I'm a flight risk, which is the reason they justify the manner in which they put on this circus, then why don't they want a cash bond? Because I'm not a flight risk. They know I have no passport. They know I don't have a gun in the house. I'm not sure why they sent the boats, because I can't swim. If they thought I was going to jump in the water and
sent a boat.
Like a boat.
Right, 2 boats.
Two.
It was a circus to try to put pressure on me, I guess. What finally happens, of course, is they arrest me. I go to the courthouse. They arraign me. The marshal says to me, "I'm sorry, Mr. Stone, but I got to put these leg irons on you." I said, "Good, make sure we get a lot of good pictures, because I got to raise money for my legal defense fund."
Yeah.
I go in, I plead not guilty. The whole thing's full of these leftist reporters who think this is the greatest day in their life. And then they bond me out without a bond. And my lawyer says, "Well, we can go down the elevator to the back door and go out the back." I said,
No.
"We're not doing that." I said, "Well, there got to be, at this point, there's probably 1,000 people out in front of the courthouse, both pro and con, friendly and unfriendly. People are screaming. It's pandemonium out there. They've set up the various media outlets have set up a battery of microphones. So I go out on the plaza. It was very hard to hear because everybody was screaming, but of course I do the famous thing because
Yeah.
you must show them that they haven't broken you. That's the most important thing. You have to show them that they haven't broken you. And then I left. And then I was so naive, I thought I was going to get a fair trial. I had no idea the whole thing was rigged. The judge would never allow me any defense. The underlying premise of my indictment is that the Russians hacked the DNC, and the data was somehow made its way to WikiLeaks. Well, I could have proved with expert testimony and with forensic evidence, it never is any online hack of the DNC. There is no evidence to the contrary. Later in the preliminary motions in my trial, the FBI admits they never inspected the computer servers at the DNC. They relied on a report from a company called CrowdStrikes. My lawyers wanted the CrowdStrikes report in my defense. The judge would not allow us to have it. Later on, the head of cybersecurity for CrowdStrikes testifies before the House Intelligence Committee and admits that he has no proof whatsoever in his little report that the Russians hacked the DNC, because they didn't. Then my lawyers asked for Robert Mueller's report. We want his final report because the sections on me are completely redacted. They're all blacked out. And she says, well, I'm not going to give it to you. I'll read it in my chambers and I'll give you the sections that pertain to you. She reads it. She gives us nothing. And then BuzzFeed sues the Department of Justice after I was pardoned. They're forced to release the entire report, and Mueller admits he had no evidence of Russian collusion, WikiLeaks collaboration, or any other crime.
Fucking joke.
So they jacked me up on a process crime. They claim that I lied to Congress under oath in my voluntary testimony. I wasn't even subpoenaed. But to violate the False Statements Act, your statement has to be willfully false and it has to be material. In other words, it has to cover up some underlying crime. There is no underlying crime. So it's a bogus, it's a Weissman special. It's a bogus indictment. I have a rigged jury. Even in D.C., you expect that a jury might not have a Republican in it. But no military veterans, no Roman Catholics, a disproportionate number of lesbians, people who served in the Clinton and Obama administrations, but no, not even an independent, one Green Party member. The judge wouldn't allow me any defense. So specifically, any evidence of corruption by the special counsel, the FBI, the Department of Justice, or any member of Congress, I'm not allowed to raise that in my defense. The whole thing was it was a Soviet-style show trial. It was wired start to finish. And then we learned, after I was already convicted, that the jury forewoman, who said during jury selection and during the trial that she didn't know who I was, had never heard of me, was unfamiliar with my case, although she ran for Congress as a Democrat in Tennessee. She had been attacking me and Trump on Facebook and Twitter, but she had it on a private setting the entire time. Obvious evidence of bias, but the judge ruled, no, that wasn't evidence of bias.
I can't believe the judge can make that decision.
They run everything.
Like even with your cases, you're not allowed to bring this in, that in. It's a gray area.
Look with him. There was no Russian collusion.
And no WikiLeaks collaboration. No one ever proved that I had anything with WikiLeaks. They said, Mueller says, Stone was communicating on Twitter direct messages with Guccifer 2.0, who claims online that he hacked the DNC. Well, yes, that's true. 3 months after all the stuff had already been published.
Right.
So chronologically, unless I had a time machine, how could I have been involved in the heisting of that material or its publication? And I released the entire exchange. It's 28 words. There's nothing in there that indicates that we were colluding or cooperating or collaborating. It was innocuous. When I was pardoned, Mueller, really Weissman, runs an op-ed piece for the Washington Post saying Stone was communicating with Russian intelligence assets, with an S. They can't prove that Guccifer 2.0 is a Russian asset because I don't know who that is, but I know one thing. They're not a Russian asset. They have no proof of that. And the other trick they use is they indicted 17 Russians allegedly for hacking the DNC, knowing that they're out of the country and it will never go to trial and that it will never go to discovery.
Right.
Then they say this case is related to Stone's case, and we will produce evidence against Stone that was gleaned from the search warrants in this case, which they never did because they never had any, but it ensured that it got in front of the judge that they had hand-selected, the same judge who sent Paul Manafort to solitary confinement before he had been convicted of anything.
That's crazy how this could work. It really is.
Treacherous. But the people don't know this. If you don't live it, right, you don't know until you live it.
That's crazy.
What did they give you, 40 months, right?
40 months, yes. Well, the prosecutors in my case asked for 7 to 9 years. And then when you read their sentencing recommendation, first of all, they accused me of threatening to kill the judge. Let's dispose of that one right now. I posted a picture of the judge in a criticism because I'm raising money and I'm defending myself online. And in the corner, very, very small, there is a logo for the organization that created the image, which is called Corruption Central. By the end of the day, the media said I had posted a graphic with a rifle crosshair over the judge's face. You can look at it; it's not what it is.
Yeah.
I went and got an affidavit from the graphic artist who designed this little logo, and he says, "No, it's a Celtic cross. It was the logo of this organization. It has nothing to do with the rifle." But by the end of the day, it didn't matter. The entire media narrative had been written that I had threatened the judge.
The narrative that they could portray.
Which they never charged me with. Because believe me, if I had threatened to kill a judge, they would have added it to my charges.
100%.
But they didn't. But in the sentencing report, they want to give me time for that. They also claim that I'm involved in foreign interference in the election, it says in there. No, they never proved anything of the kind. So they want to give me 7 to 9 years. They tell their superiors in D.C., that they're going to be within the guidelines, which is like 3 to 4 years. And ultimately, Bill Barr never invalidates their initial sentencing recommendation, but he does say to the judge, we think that the guidelines call for 3 to 4 years, but Your Honor, it's totally up to you. So she could have given me 7 to 9 years. Right. And then they all quit. They all resigned from my case in protest, saying that they were pressured. But the Washington Post proves by going to the top officials that nobody was ever pressured. That's a false narrative. A guy named Aaron Zielinski, one of the prosecutors, testified under oath before the House Judiciary Committee that he was pressured to give me a lesser sentence. That's a lie, and yet he still hasn't been prosecuted for perjury, but he should be.
Yeah, they all lie. It's a fucking joke.
It's their rules. That's it.
No, they got the home field advantage. They got the judge, the prosecutor. They got everything.
Yeah.
And in D.C., no Republican, no Trump supporter, no free thinker.
No, you're dead there. New York's the same way. When Trump went to trial in New York.
Yes, exactly.
The judge's daughter worked for Biden's campaign.
Yeah, no, she made, the judge's daughter in Trump's New York case made millions of dollars off of this case, using this case for the centerpiece for fundraising for the Biden campaign. He has a conflict. He should have stepped down.
Yeah, he should have stepped down.
It will ultimately, his conviction will be overturned on that basis alone, if not many others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no crime committed.
Well, you always say this all the time. It's United States of America versus you. Yeah. Like, you have to win every time.
Yeah, they got to win once.
And that's it. Your life could be over that fast.
You're fucking dead.
Now,
look, if he didn't get pardoned.
Yeah, and they never mentioned that you got pardoned.
Yeah, they never mentioned you got pardoned.
Well, the other thing is, so they arrest me in January. By July, well, first of all, they go to 2 federal judges, and they say, we have probable cause to charge Stone with treason, conspiracy against the United States, counterfeiting, money laundering, wire fraud, mail fraud. They love those. Aiding and abetting a conspiracy before and after the fact. Of course, they don't have evidence of any of those crimes because I didn't commit any of those crimes. So they get all my emails, all my text messages, and so on. They can't find anything. There's nothing in there. So they basically say call my lawyer down to Washington, and they say to him, look, your client's going to die in prison. Either he agrees to cooperate, or we're going to hit him with superseding charges. We know that he and Trump spoke on the phone at least 29 times in 2016. We have the records. All he's got to do is say that this pertained to the Russians and WikiLeaks and so on. I'd already passed 3 polygraph tests, And I used the same polygraph operator that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement uses. And it proved it was all a lie.
Yeah.
But all he's got to do is testify against Trump, and we'll write a letter to the judge urging that he get no jail time.
See how easy it is?
And I,
God bless you.
I refuse to do that.
Yeah. You know how many people made up lies?
Yeah.
He's going to jail. You get 9 years. And treason. Treason, you get the death penalty, right?
Right, correct.
If you get pinched for treason, you get the death penalty.
But of course, they never charged me with any of those things because they had no evidence.
all a bluff game.
So they charge you with, they charged me with process crimes. But I refused to do that. I just wasn't going to do that.
God bless you, because 99% of the people would have did it.
Well, do I look like Michael?
Believe me.
Do I look like Michael Cohen
You're
to
calling
you?
that motherfucker.
Yeah, he's
Another piece of shit. How the fuck they use him?
Yeah.
Well,
I can't believe if you don't live it like you say, you would never know. And the way that they get away with things and how things can be rigged in their favor, and there's nothing you could do.
Well, we need Trump to win. By next Thursday, not this Thursday, this comes out Thursday, the following week, Trump should be president.
Well, he should be
coming
elected.
fast.
Elected president.
He'd be elected president. I mean, you have a process here. So people ask me, as you might imagine, what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that.
I went to the rally in Madison Square Garden. They say, oh, it was a Nazi rally. The Nazis had a rally there in 1939. Yeah, Bill Clinton got nominated in that convention hall. Jimmy Carter got nominated in that convention hall. John Kennedy had his birthday party where Marilyn Monroe sat, in the see-through dress, sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." That was all there, but they don't get criticized.
Right.
It was an amazing rally, and I think that the addition of Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard shows that common sense Democrats who believe in the country, believe in free enterprise, believe in capitalism, believe in a strong national defense, believe in the Constitution, there's no place for them in the Democrat Party anymore. The Kennedy, Truman style Democrat just doesn't exist anymore. Those who used to follow Kennedy and Truman now don't follow Marx and Lenin.
Right.
So I think you have a whole realignment going on. They can have Dick Cheney,
Yeah.
the warmonger. They can have his daughter, who, by the way, suborned perjury in the January 6th committee hearings about me. She claimed that she got a witness to say that Mark Meadows, who was Trump's chief of staff, that Trump instructed Meadows to call me and General Flynn on January 5th to find out what was going to happen on January 6th. I don't know Mark Meadows. I've never talked to him on the phone. I've never communicated him at all. I think I met him once in a green room back at Fox when he was still in Congress. There is no such phone. Phone records would show if there ever was any phone.
Yeah.
I checked with my friend General Flynn. He never got a call like that either. It's complete bull, but it's perjury. And then she gets the woman, whose name is Cassidy Hutchinson, to say that Meadows was going to go over to the Willard Hotel, where there's a war room, where Stone and Flynn were with others, and that she convinced him not to go, but that he later called Stone and Flynn to get debriefed. Well, first of all, if there's a war room in the Willard, I don't know about it. I was never in any war room. It's just false. Even the Washington Post admitted they could find no evidence of it. And then secondarily, there's no secondary phone call to Flynn. The whole thing is made up. So she suborned perjury. Then they show these videos of me where they match a voice track with a video, with a visual that don't match.
Yeah.
Different than the ones they leaked to CNN the day before. They can't even keep their bullshit straight.
So many lies wrapped in one.
And there's a lot of AI in there. They're bumping up the volume to try to make things sound more violent than they were. I mean, it's what we need is an investigation into the January 6th investigation.
Right.
Because Schiff and the rest of these Zoe Lefgren or whatever her name is, these people committed crimes, and they should be held responsible.
The fucking media is so dangerous.
Could ruin your life in seconds.
They hate Fox is the only one that likes Trump.
Yeah.
You watch any other fucking news station, you think you're in another country.
It's the truth.
I don't even watch it.
No, I know.
I can't even watch it.
Well, and Fox is only good at night. I mean, Fox during the day is indistinguishable from CNN. It's exactly like CNN.
Yeah,
You get the same Trump derangement syndrome. I love Laura Ingraham and I love Sean Hannity. They got a great lineup at night.
Yeah.
It's a toxic mix when you have the people in power in bed with the establishment media. Right. Now, thanks to Elon Musk, they don't have the monopoly they used to have, but they're still very, very powerful, and they still take a false narrative and just run with it. They're now trying to bail Kamala Harris out because some comedian at the rally made a joke about
I sent that to
Puerto
you today,
Rico.
Joe. Yeah.
I mean, Trump gave billions of dollars to Puerto Rico in hurricane relief. Billions, 15 billion, I think. But that's all they have to run with.
Yeah,
She can't run on her stellar record. We have record inflation. We have record gas prices. We're on the precipice of 2 world wars. The situation in the country is not good.
Food costs is astronomical.
Right, and she acts like she has nothing to do with it.
No.
Well, I'm the change agent. No, this is what you're responsible for.
for 3 years.
Somebody
she
asked her-
broke it.
Yeah.
They broke it. He's got to come in and fix it.
They said to her, "Would you fix anything that Joe did in the last 4 years?" She said, "No, everything was fine."
Everything's fine.
I mean, it's
How about
crazy.
the border?
It's crazy.
No, it's fucking nuts. What do you think now? He wins the election, but then it's going to get tied up in the courts?
No, I think that they're going to try to delegitimize his victory. So they're going to claim that he won, but that's because of foreign interference from fill in the blank.
Right.
I think they're going
Iran,
to blame
Russia,
Elon Musk
China,
for something.
whatever. Maybe.
Yeah.
So they seem to be trying to set him up.
Yeah, they're trying to do it now in Pennsylvania. He's donating
With the
them
crumb,
money.
Larry Krasner.
Well, he's giving $1 million donations.
Yeah.
But he can do that.
can
It's
do
$1
that.
million for a signature. It's not $1 million for a vote. There's
Yeah.
nothing illegal about that.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it into something that it's not, of course.
Yeah, so I think their end goal, and I'm in a minority on this, is that, but Jamie Raskin, the criminal congressman from Maryland, he's already announced you can vote for Trump if you want. We don't care. We're not going to certify his election. He just says it. So to me, that's proof of an illegal plan
Already.
to deny Trump the election. Now, when Trump questioned certification
Yeah.
of the last election, they said it was a crime. But when they do it, then it's perfectly all right.
Hillary did it when she lost.
Yes, she
to
did.
Trump.
Yes, she
did.
did.
It. She fought it.
That's
Yes,
crazy.
she did.
Fucking nuts.
One way. You could say it's a one-way street.
It's a one-way street.
Well, hopefully, when we get the results and when Donald Trump wins, get you back on here. We'll have a celebration party.
Celebration party.
That's good. I like that. idea.
Yeah, a little celebration party.
I like
Look
that
what
idea.
this guy's been through.
I mean, you've been through the
He's friends
ringer
with
all
Trump.
because
You hear what they told him?
affiliation.
Just
Yeah,
say
no,
Trump. Just say Trump told you to do it.
That'll be great. Ralph can cater it. It'll be great.
yeah, absolutely.
100%.
We
But you
will-
hear what they told him?
Yeah.
Just give us Trump. You could lie. Just give us Trump. You go home.
Yeah.
That's what they did to that kid, Adam, with me.
Yeah.
He fucking got 212 years.
He was facing 212 years.
No, he got 212 years.
Tell him Joey Merlino did.
And
He'll walk out
we'll let you
today.
go right now. The guy said, I don't even know him. I never met him in my life.
You could just lie and ruin somebody's life
Fucking
like that.
Joke. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's a broken system.
Yeah, the system is broken.
And now they have weaponized it as never before. So, I mean, let's take the first case against Trump. Okay, they say that he overvalued his assets in order to borrow money. Well, first of all, the banks do their own appraisal. They don't
Correct.
care what you think a property's worth. They got to do their own appraisal. They made $40 million in interest. Everybody got paid back on time. In some cases, they even got paid back early.
Yeah.
And everybody made money, and they wanted to do it again. They wanted to do more business because it was good business. Doesn't matter what Trump thinks the property's worth. And some properties, like Mar-a-Lago, it's impossible to put a price tag on that. It's a unique property.
The judge
But I
says it's worth
guarantee-
$15 million.
It's certainly worth more than $15
Fucking worth
million.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Half $1 billion. Got to be.
Easily.
Easily.
That's crazy. It
And
really
like you
is.
said, the banks do their own due diligence. I'll call a bank there. Yeah, my house worth $13 million. Can I borrow $10 million?
Yeah.
They're going to tell me, fuck you. You know what I mean? House.
Yeah, see you later.
They do the work.
They do it,
tell
yeah.
you, like he said.
Underwriters
and
and
they
everything.
got paid.
Yeah.
Trump was
really is.
happy. They were happy. He got indicted.
Right. So then they convict him there. He's not even allowed to put on a defense once again because it's wired. Then you have the so-called hush money trial. So he has a nuisance lawsuit. He has a nuisance claim. He settles it with a settlement agreement. There's no underlying crime there. So at worst, even if you were guilty, at worst, that's a business records crime. It's a misdemeanor. You pay a fine and be gone. But and Alvin Bragg, who's the prosecutor, he can't identify the underlying crime. It's not a federal election crime, but they won't let the former head of the Federal Election Commission testify because he would have testified, no, there's no crime here. They don't even let him testify. There is no underlying crime. So the whole thing is it's a fraud. It'll get overturned, but all they care about is trying to convict him and, if possible, lock him up before the election.
That's the goal.
And the other question you have to ask yourself is, why in the 4th year of Biden's presidency? If he did all these things,
Why didn't it happen?
whether it's January 6th related, or if he did all that, why didn't you charge him in the first year? I'll tell you why. Because they thought that their backup candidate, Ron DeSantis, was going to beat him for the nomination.
Yeah.
Now the neocons are back in control. They got both candidates covered. When Trump pulverized DeSantis, who is a backstabbing, ungrateful weasel, who, if it weren't for Donald Trump, would be managing a McDonald's right now instead of being governor of Florida. Remember, Ron DeSantis was at 8% in the polls.
Wow.
No money. Every Republican county chairman in Florida is opposed to him. Every single member of the Republican state legislature, the Senate president, the speaker, every member of Congress from Florida who's a Republican, except for Matt Gaetz, they're all for his opponent. Trump makes this guy with one tweet, makes him. He goes zooming ahead. He wins the nomination. And then, frankly, he's such a piss-poor candidate that Trump has to change his schedule to come to Florida twice in the last 2 weeks to drag him over the finish line by 25,000 votes. He's 42 years old. He can't wait his turn. He can't wait his turn.
Yeah.
So he owes everything he has to Donald Trump, and then he betrays him. I mean, to me, that's a lack of character.
Yeah, lack of
Well,
character.
we really appreciate you coming on and your knowledge. And when Donald Trump
We
wins,
learned a lot of stuff here.
we'll come back on here, have a little celebration party. We'll get catered from DeLuca's, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me. I would say this guy has the best veal chop you've ever
Yes,
had. in your
yes, he
entire
does.
life.
Yeah,
It's
food's good.
unbelievable.
We will see you again. We'll be back with episode 62 next week. We're live in Boca Raton at the Podcast Junkie studio. See you next week.
Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with C-notes. And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey Merlino.
What's up, Fuji?
Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with
Tell us about
C-notes. And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey Merlino.
With Joey Merlino.